There's a Japanese word, yutori, that doesn't have a direct English translation. It describes a state of being, a sense of spaciousness and time in life that allows for calm, reflection, and awareness. It's the absence of the rat race. As it happens, in 2002, the Japanese government implemented an educational reform with that name, Yutori Kyoiku, with the goal of reducing the workload and pressure on students, giving them more time, more yutori. The intention was noble, to create a less stressed and more creative generation. But over time, the term yutori generation began to be used pejoratively, as a synonym for lazy, unambitious, someone who doesn't try hard enough. The very idea of having space, of not constantly chasing after something, became offensive. This story got me thinking, why have we, as a society, developed such a strong allergy to the idea of enough? Why is the ambition to simply live well, in peace, with time for the things that matter, seen as a lack of drive? Where does this belief that if we're not climbing, we're necessarily falling, come from? This pressure to be more, to do more, to have more. It's not just an abstract idea in Japan. It's the air we breathe. It's the silent voice that wakes us up in the middle of the night with a to-do list. It's the anxiety we feel scrolling through our feed and seeing everyone else's seemingly perfect and productive lives. It's that feeling of running a marathon with no finish line. You achieve a goal, and instead of feeling joy, you just feel the relief of being able to breathe for a second before looking at the next mountain, even higher. You accomplish something you dreamed of for years, and the question echoing in your head isn't, how can I enjoy this? But, what's next? We've become addicted to the hustle, the bustle. Stillness has become uncomfortable. Rest needs to be earned, optimized, productive. And the result is this deep exhaustion, an existential hangover. It's the feeling of doing everything society expects of you, of checking all the boxes. But somewhere deep down in your soul, feeling empty, disconnected. This conversation is for you who are tired of the grind, for you who suspect there must be a gentler, more human way to live. For you who secretly just want permission to stop for a bit, take a deep breath, and feel that where you are right now is enough. But why is that so hard? What invisible engine pushes us into this endless quest? That invisible engine, that force that prevents us from finding contentment, is one of the most well-documented and, at the same time, most treacherous mechanisms of the human mind. In psychology, it has a name, Hedonic Adaptation, or, as it's more commonly known, the Hedonic Treadmill. The concept was studied in the 70s by psychologists like Philip Brickman and Donald T. Campbell. They discovered something fascinating and a little disheartening. We, as human beings, have a remarkable ability to get used to our circumstances, whether they're good or bad. This means that no matter how high we climb, our baseline level of happiness tends to always return to square one. Think of it like a treadmill. You get a promotion, a raise, buy the car you've always dreamed of. That's like increasing the speed of the treadmill. For a moment, there's a burst of joy, a sense of progress. But in a short time, your body and mind adapt to the new speed. What was extraordinary becomes the new normal. And to feel that same burst of joy again, you need to increase the speed again. You run faster and faster, but emotionally, you stay in the same place. I remember perfectly the first time I managed to buy a camera rig I'd wanted for years. I spent months researching, saving, imagining the amazing videos I'd make. The day the box arrived was pure euphoria. I set everything up, did the first tests, and felt accomplished. For maybe a week. Soon after, my focus shifted. I started thinking about the lens I was missing, the microphone that could be better. The equipment that was my endgame became just another tool in the box. The joy of achievement was completely overshadowed by the anxiety of the next acquisition. The Hedonic Treadmill had caught me, and I hadn't even realized it. If our search for happiness is like running on a treadmill, then the solution can never be to run faster. That would only lead to exhaustion. The real liberation, the only logical and compassionate way out, is learning to slow down. And, who knows, maybe even step off the treadmill for a few moments. What if the secret to happiness isn't in the next achievement, but in our ability to combat adaptation? What if, instead of seeking more things to feel good, we learn to appreciate more deeply the things we already have? This completely changes the rules of the game. The goal stops being accumulating more trophies and starts being cultivating gratitude. It stops being about reaching the next level and starts being about finding beauty and meaning in the level we're at right now. Success stops being an external measure of achievements and becomes an internal measure of contentment. So here's the permission that maybe the hustle culture has never given you. You have permission to not want more. You have permission to define your own enough, a point where you can say, "This is good. Here I can rest, here I can enjoy." Maybe enough isn't a sign of failure or lack of ambition. Maybe it's the highest form of wisdom. It's the recognition that true wealth isn't having everything, but not needing anything more. It's the courage to step off the treadmill, look around, and realize that the landscape, exactly where you are, is already extraordinary. Learning to step off the treadmill is a practice, a daily exercise of intention. And if you feel that this idea of focusing on what's truly important resonates with you and want a practical guide to apply it in your life, I have a recommendation that can be transformative. The book is called Essentialism: The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. If our conversation today was about why we should seek enough, McKeown's book is The How. It's not about doing more in less time, but about doing only the right things. Essentialism is a disciplined method for discerning what is absolutely essential and eliminating everything else so that we can make our greatest possible contribution to the things that really matter. It's the perfect continuation for our conversation, a bridge that takes the philosophy of enough into the practice of everyday life, both professionally and personally. Our conversation today is an invitation to ongoing reflection. And like any good conversation, it gets richer when it's shared. So, I would love to hear your voice. The question I leave for our community in the comments is, what's the treadmill you feel like you're running on today? And what would be the first small step you could take to start slowing down? Reading your stories and perspectives is what gives true meaning to this space. If you value these pauses to think and want them to continue, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you want to go a step further and directly support the production of more videos like this, consider becoming a member. And, as always, our most important reminder: this is a philosophical and psychological exploration, not therapy. If anxiety, exhaustion, or the feeling of being overwhelmed are persistent and are affecting your quality of life, please consider seeking the help of a qualified professional. Taking care of your mental health is the most essential step of all. Thank you for your company. Maybe the greatest success isn't going further, but learning to bloom exactly where your feet are planted.